I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Well, that is probably obvious to you all now. Let's have a little background for a minute. Changed my mind. I'm not prepared for tonight. And I, if you saw the comment, I said that I was going to cancel tonight because, you know what, Lexi, I bet it didn't take that many takes. This guy's terrible at a lot of stuff, but one thing he can do is lie really well and convincingly, and read a prompter, right? He can still do that. And what's great about him, when it comes to listening to him give speeches, or just talk in general, right? Anytime you hear him talk, because he's of a certain age, and I'm not gonna mock him for his age, because, you know, for his age, he's remarkably spry, right? Especially when you consider his lifestyle, right? I mean, Metallica said your lifestyle determines your death style. Why? What happened to that? But so for his age, he's pretty spry, right? And seems to be able to speak. However, when you watch him speak or listen to him speak enough, if you're from the US, there's no way you could have avoided hearing him way more than you wanted to over the past 4 years. It's really clear that basically what he has is this sort of bank. He's like a walking sound bank, right? He has like 8 or 9 phrases that he can remember. That's about what he can hold in his long-term quick twitch recall memory. Things like huge was the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. It's the best thing that's ever come around. It's, you wouldn't believe it. Like there are phrases, like this group of key phrases that he uses a lot. And you can tell when he goes off script. Like he'll be reading a script and then he'll just stop for a second. He'll go, and you wouldn't believe it. It's the best thing that you could ever imagine. And we have a lot of them, more than any other country, more than any other. It's a huge number of them, right? So it's really easy to watch him and be like, oh, here he's on script, and here he went off script. Here he punctuates his scripts with his little Trumpisms, right? So I bet you he got that out. I mean, it couldn't have taken that long because although it was still daylight when he did that. So, but it's incredible. I don't know if you all have been, I'm sure people have been paying attention to this. Well, yeah, and butterfly composure. I mean, when people think, I believe, when people think America, right? And then you think, let's say you're thinking about America, and then you think, all right, America, I'm going to break into the Capitol building. Now, for most people, and for Americans too, but I would think especially for people in civilized countries, they might think, that's a terrible idea. Everybody in America has a gun, and and it is true, like, obviously, like, I've been to the White House a lot of times, and it's very easy to see the snipers on the roof of the White House. So, I imagine, obviously, if this had been the White House, it would have been a very different story. Nobody's allowed to even get close to the White House, generally, although it was breached during a tour. I think, I don't remember the exact story on that, but it's funny. You would think, like, I saw a video of what happened today, where there was a lone police officer, or I'm not sure if this was a DC police officer. I don't know exactly how the jurisdiction. This had to have been a federal officer, right? Because he was inside the Capitol, and he was by himself. He was standing by some stairs leading up so the Capitol building is you have the rotunda, which is the big piece that everybody sees, and then you have the two wings coming off the sides, where you have the House and the Senate, and that's where all the work gets done. The rotunda is where people lie in state. John Lewis was there, I think. Did John Lewis lie in state? I think he did. And I hope I'm not. I know a bit about. I used to know a lot more about the U.S. system of government, and a lot of it is faded from my memory. But anyway, my point was that I would think that you wouldn't think, generally, you wouldn't think that breaking into the Capitol building would be easy. Especially because there was nothing surprising about this, right? And the left-wing conspiracy nuts are going to go crazy with this, because I started to kind of go crazy with it in my head, with sort of well, now wait a minute. The anecdotal stuff that I've been hearing has been that had the rioters somehow managed to get to these bundles of electoral college votes and burnt them, that it's possible that the election might have had to have been reheld. That doesn't sound right to me. I mean, I can't imagine there isn't a digital, or the electors would still have their mandates, right? It's not like those were the votes. Those were just the electors' votes. So the electors would have had to vote again. But even that sounds really backwards to me. But I can't imagine what the conspiracy theorists are going to say. There are a couple of images. Well, I mean, this one's pretty. That's pretty. This is me looking at this going like, why is there a Puerto Rican flag being flown there? Because I'm stupid and I didn't realize or forgot that the Puerto Rican flag has a blue triangle with the lone star in it. The square field with the star in it is Texas. So then it was, yeah, okay, of course, that makes perfect sense. So this is a scene of the Capitol building. Some photographer whose camera was probably going off, several times a second until the memory card filled up, caught one of the flashbangs that were detonated by the National Guard. So you have a you have a group of people. You have the group of. Let me get my light back here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sort of. I wasn't really prepared for this. I really did not want. I wasn't feeling up to streaming tonight, but because of like, I almost felt like shit, man. Like when I moved here, when I moved to DC in 2016, when I moved here, I moved to actual downtown DC, less than a mile from the Capitol building. If you left the apartment and for those of you who think like, oh, you must have a lot of money. No, I was in the, arguably one of the worst neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., where it was very, it's weird because I moved there with my girlfriend at the time, and we moved there sight unseen. And I'm sure I've told this story before, but we like looked up by zone to see like what were the safer areas to live in, because we knew we were just going to be moving there without a chance to kind of look around. And we found what we thought apparently was a safer zone, but really these zones are not that, I guess they're not that precise, right? So we were like across the main road from a safer zone, and we got pulled over the first day that we were there. The first day we were there, we were pulled over by police officers, and we were not doing anything apart from like, hey, let's just drive around the neighborhood a little bit. Let's just see what's in the immediate area. Like we didn't know anything, right? Got pulled over by police officers, and were wondering what was wrong, and they were just like, well, what are you all doing driving around here? And we said, well, we live in this apartment a block over. Since we're not there anymore, I can tell you it was Q Street. It was 89 South, I believe, 89 Q Street, and it's just like it just looks like a brick prison, but there are a bunch of doors, right? And there's an apartment above, an apartment below, and they were like 300 square feet. And some people had whole families living in them. And I recently looked and I Google searched it. Let's bingo card in Miami right now. For fun, sometimes for fun. This is what I do for fun. I will go like to an area of Miami that I used to know, that I used to hang out at. And for some popular areas in Google Maps, when you're at the street view, there's actually a slider for time. And you can slide and you can see the state of the neighborhood, going back as far as, in some cases, like 2000. So going back 20 years. I think it was at least that. I'm not sure when Google Street View started. And you can see even the degradation of you can even see like the improvement of the cameras, right, that they use to take the pictures. But so in some areas you can kind of slide that back. And I remember I was using this feature, and I was like, when I was like 6 or 7 years old, my parents used to take me to my paternal grandparents' apartment, which was near downtown Miami. And I was like, I want to find this place. And I had an old book of my father's that had an address in it, and it was the address of that apartment building. And I had this really distinct memory of this building. I also had a distinct memory of my paternal grandmother owning a VW Bug and letting me ride on the sideboard. Like the old VW Bugs had like a little sideboard, between the wheel wells that kind of popped out through the parking lot. She wasn't going 60 miles an hour with a 6-year-old kid standing on the sideboard. but it was probably not safe by any means, right? She would take me on rides, standing on the sideboard, holding on to the open window, right, in a VW Bug through the parking lot or whatever it was. But anyway, I went back looking for this apartment building, found this address, went there in Google Street View, and looked around and was just like, no, I don't, no memories at all of any of this. Now, Hurricane Andrew, hurricanes in general, but Hurricane Andrew really did a number on Miami. So if you're looking for like trees or things like that as landmarks, you're generally out of luck. But I remembered this building being like this kind of browny beige color, and there were a bunch of things that were different about it. And looking around, I couldn't tell. There was just like everything was glass balcony. You know how buildings are. Like every building now in every city that's been built in the last 15 to 20 years, they have, these glass balconies. The bottoms aren't glass, but they'll have like glass banisters instead of the iron banisters with just like a little steel rod going across the top. But this was the first time I saw that Google slider, and so I slid that slider back as far as it would go, which I think was like maybe 2003 or something like that. And apparently that area had gotten totally redone, maybe around 2008 or 2009. So before that, like I slid that slider all the way back, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is what I remember, right? Even though it was actually much further back than that, right? Anyway, got off topic there. So the area that we lived in was when we first moved to DC was really bad. Police officers pulled us over the first time that we were driving around. The first day we were there, maybe the second day. Asked us what we were doing, in a sort of, why did you come here to buy drugs was the implication, right? Like, we know you're here to buy drugs. That was essentially what it was. And to be fair, most of the building complexes in that area did have these open courtyards that were very reminiscent of The Wire, where the corner kids or whatever, would kind of hang out. And it was all, almost entirely black except for us and maybe one or two other people, right? So we told them that we had just moved there, and that, we told them our address. We're like, look, we're right there. And I remember saying, well, we researched before we came here, and, they said this was one of the safest neighborhoods in DC. And the police officer said, well, you researched wrong. There was a murder last night, 1 block over from where you live. So their advice to us was not to go out after dark. Like all this kind of, it was a little heavy-handed. We ended up ignoring most of it. And, if you're not looking for trouble, generally trouble doesn't find you. But I also have this weird, it's got to be it's some sort of, I don't know if it's a coping mechanism. And I've talked about it before, but it's like a coping mechanism when it comes to death, where I am so obsessed with death coming from within that I tend not to notice external danger as much as normal people do. So that probably helped a little too. Anyway, we could walk out of the apartment, walk 1 block over to this big road, which was Capitol. I think it was Capitol Drive, I think, right? And you could look up and you could see the Capitol building over, it was a mile or so away, but you could see it from there. So we were very, very close to there for a time. It ended up being 2-hour commute some days to work where I worked. And that was just to go like 10 miles. so I moved. Anyway, I think I had a point. But so I used to live much closer to the action. Okay, here was my point. When thinking about not streaming tonight, I was thinking to myself, well, originally one of the reasons that I moved to DC was because I was pretty political right at that time, and I still am. I feel like I go through phases. Like I go through half decades where I'm politically active, and then it sort of, I don't know what happens. It sort of dies out, and that's pretty much what happened. I moved to DC. Went to a bunch of rallies. Was going to, but then again, the COVID hit. So, but I can't just blame COVID, because even pre-COVID, I was not going to rallies anywhere near, or protests anywhere near what I expected I would. I would go to maybe a couple a year. So in thinking about that, it occurred to me like, hey, one of the reasons that you came here was to be a little more political or be a little more involved with that stuff. So isn't it hypocritical of you when the Capitol building has been breached by domestic terrorists or secessionists or whatever you want to call them, right? Which I don't think that's happened since before the Civil War, or since the Civil War. See, this is where I have to check my history. I want to say maybe it happened once after. I'd have to look it up. But let's just say it doesn't happen, right? And you would think that, it wouldn't happen, because you would think that the same level of protection that is afforded the White House, like the security level that is afforded the White House, you would have a similar level of security here. But I mean, what I saw was one police officer or federal agent, I'm not sure which, right? Basically, with his gun out. Well, actually, no, he didn't even have his gun out. And there was a mob of people moving towards him inside the Capitol, and he had to run back to grab his baton, which I assume prior to the video, he must have dropped his baton. I don't know if it was knocked out of his hand or what. But grabbed his baton, had his hand on his pistol, I think, and kept retreating because the mob kept kind of advancing on him, and he kept trying to get them to stop. He went up a flight of stairs. It was like he was trying to make stands at, where I'm sure he's trained, to be like, find a narrow area, right? So he went up the staircase and he went on to the landing of the staircase prior to the, you have staircase, landing, staircase. Went up to the landing, made a stand on the landing for about 15 seconds. Then he was pushed back by the mob up all the way up the staircase, and then into one of the grander rooms in the Capitol building. He was then pushed back and then joined by a bunch of other police officers. Like I said, I don't know what to call them. They could be private security guards for all I know, right? This was prior to the National Guard being called in. So I don't know. But it was really, really frightening. And what these people did was here is the, I want to be sure that I phrase this in a way that isn't horrible. A guy grabbed the podium, the speaker's podium, and was like walking out with it, right? Trump during the Black Lives Matter protests, tweeted and repeatedly said at rallies, when the looting starts, I can't be, this is not the time for spoonerisms or malapropisms or just misspeaking. When the looting starts and the shooting starts, okay, that's what he said, right? I'm sorry, I haven't taken a break to look at comments. I will in a minute. Probably everybody has said this already in the comments, and a bunch of other stuff too. So I apologize. I will in a second here. I just want to finish this initial rant while it's kind of like it needs to get out of me like when you got to pee really bad. Let's leave it at that. So we have a president who, in the weeks up to January 6th, rallied for people to convene at the Ellipse, which, for those who don't know, it's like a park area right outside the Capitol. D.C., for those who don't know D.C., it's a really stupid city. Like I'm sorry, it's dumb. It's poorly organized. It's poorly laid out. I think like any city planner would look at DC and say, and every time I had gotten in a taxi or an Uber, more taxis back when it was taxis or an Uber in DC, they would always say, oh yeah, DC was designed for horse and buggies, not for cars. And that makes sense when you look at the lack of straight streets, the fact that when you want to merge into 55-mile-an-hour highways from on-ramps that are coming from surface streets, there's no merge lane. All kinds of things that I wasn't used to when I moved here, right? So Trump has been drumming up this event that was meant to occur today, which coincides with the day. And by the way, it's now 8 o'clock, which is when the electors said they were going to go back and continue with the count of the electorate ballots. So I'm almost done. So he drummed up all of this support for having an event today. There was, well in advance, the hotel here that has I'm surprised has not been sued by Marvel. Maybe probably predates Marvel, but there's a hotel that has, I forget what the name of the hotel is, but the logo looks very much like the Batman logo. It's apparently the Proud Boys favored, the hotel of choice for the Proud Boys. Everybody knew that that something was going to happen today. They didn't know what, right? Maybe they didn't know the extent of it. To think that there weren't people that didn't have a plan, I think is naive, right? And that there were, as there are with any, probably, with any kind of extremist splinter cells of groups like this, people who had a goal in mind, and their goal was not just to stand around and wave flags and make a lot of noise. They were going to do something. And it looks like, what they decided to do was storm the Capitol, right? Because who doesn't like a good storming, right? Especially apparently a large, disproportionate number of people from Texas. You don't mess with Texas, and they're going to storm the Capitol, and they're going to take it back. And if they don't, Texas is going to secede from the nation, and everybody who wants that kind of stuff, they can go live in Texas, and that'll be just fine. And Matthew McConaughey will be there, and Matthew McConaughey will probably move out. It's a little too much for him. Matthew McConaughey likes to be open-minded. Here's what Matthew McConaughey likes. He wants to hear everybody's opinion, right? He doesn't want to automatically make snap judgments about anything, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Matthew McConaughey is a liberal, but he is what you'd call, he doesn't believe in the sort of, the staunch sort of illiberal liberal, right? Who doesn't listen to the other side, and who isn't constantly kind of updating their information regardless of how spurious the sources are. Sorry, I love True Detective Season 1. It's one of my favorite series of shows ever. But lately, it kind of fucked Matthew McConaughey. I don't know what it is. He seems to be like everywhere now, spouting his political opinion, hanging out with Russell Brand, who, here I am, that's the other thing. So earlier I heard lots and lots of low-flying helicopters headed towards downtown. I just heard one just now, but it was not that close. I expected to hear way more than I've been hearing. Have not been hearing that many in the past hour or two. And the curfew was supposed to be 6 o'clock. So people broke in. People stormed the Capitol. Proud Boys, Women for Trump. That was a large or part of the faction that was there today. I don't know any of the others by name. People who were sick and tired of the swamp, and they were going to drain the swamp, and they were going to storm the Capitol and do something. And that something ended up being looting. That something ended up being almost accessing the floor where the electorate votes were kept. They were kept out only by like an armoire or I don't know, I forget the name for it. They barricaded the doors. But the offices of Nancy Pelosi, who was the speaker, recently just reelected speaker by a pretty narrow margin. They accessed her office, the office of lots of other representatives and senators, and apparently there were a lot of computers that were unsecured. I don't know. I haven't now, since I've started this rant 30 minutes ago, I don't know what's developed in that 30 minutes. In about 3 minutes, I'm going to be done here, and I'll look at the comments and update myself on the state of things. Because like I said, at 8, they were supposed to recount all of this stuff, and also see where I may have misspoke here. Because I'm sure I probably said a couple of things that are inaccurate. So the National Guard, my understanding is National Guard was finally called in by Mike Pence, not by Donald Trump. So and one woman died that I know of so far. One woman who was a protester, my understanding is she was a protester, was shot, was conscious as she was being taken away from the Capitol, appeared to have been shot in the shoulder. That was the report that I had read, but she apparently died shortly afterwards. I don't know if the death toll is going to go up. It's certainly not going to reach the levels that it reached during the Black Lives Matters protests. And there was looting going on. And not only was it looting, it was looting of federal property. And we had people with access to areas where you don't even, so if people ever know about getting jobs in DC. If you ever come, if you're going to work for the Department of Defense, or you're going to work for any of the contractors or subcontractors around here, there are lots of levels of clearance. But if you want a job around here, you're generally going to have to get at least top secret clearance, or secure. There's one below it. There's like 5 levels of clearance for people working for the government, and I don't remember them off the top of my head. Some people probably do. Feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll look at them. The point is, the materials that people had access to are materials that people, even with top secret clearance, shouldn't necessarily have access to. They would have needed the level above. They would have needed super top secret clearance. I don't remember the names of the clearance levels. So they were looting. They were accessing top secret files, possibly, right? They were directly threatening standing members of government. They were threatening the validity of the ability for there to be a valid conclusion to the electoral process. So my question is, how come more of them are not dead? And the answer to that is twofold. But the biggest part of that answer is because they were mostly white people who, white men and women, and that's why. That's why there's video of police officers kindly escorting people instead of, say, digging their knees into the backs of people's necks. So, pretty fucked up. I'm not saying that I wish more people had died. I'm saying that I wish the same level of discretion that was applied today, from what I've seen, to the people who were committing far more dangerous to the country acts that were far more dangerous to the country, treacherous even. There was a level of discretion being and deference being given to them that was not afforded anyone in any of the Antifa or Black Lives Matters protests. For them, it was shoot first, justify later. Now that Trump, this little lovely thing.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
We love you. You're very special people. I don't love these people. And I think they're only special if you use that in the pejorative sense. So I don't know what. By the way, that was Trump tweeted that out, and then he was banned. Well, he removed it. He removed it and then was banned, or he was banned and then removed it. I don't know what it was, but the moment that I saw that, I was like, there's no way that this tweet is staying up. So I immediately screen recorded it. And then the moment he took it down, he took it down before he was banned, at least from what I could, the order of operations to the client watching was, he posted it. It was up for a little while. You couldn't comment on it. They had blocked it from being commented or I believe retweeted or anything like that. Then it disappeared. It said this was deleted. And then he was banned for 12 hours, I believe. I, of course, immediately took the screen recording and tweeted it, and I was banned. I was banned before I think he even finished uploading. Instagram, I posted it to Instagram. Let's see. I think Instagram is kind of like, it's still there. Yeah, Instagram doesn't seem to mind. But Twitter was not messing around. So anyway, that's what I know, right? That's what I saw. There's another image. Did I get this image? Well, let's see if I'll just. There's another image that was pretty. Let me just find it real quick because I know I grabbed it. The moment I saw it, I was like, this is important. Like the mashed potatoes from Close Encounters. Come on, airdrop. Oh, come on, airdrop. Are you kidding me? Well, why was it canceled? I just asked for it. Didn't even give me the ability to accept it. Might not. Now it's pinging again. AirDrop is wonderful when it works. It seems to work really well from. Oh, here we go. Okay, let me see it. Let's go to it. It seems to work really well from. Oh shit. Why am I getting? I'm getting a spinny. I don't know if I'm streaming anymore. Why did I get the spinny? Hopefully I'm still streaming. I'm gonna assume I am, because it would be embarrassing if I assumed I wasn't. And why is this it? Maybe this is it. That's it. Okay. So yeah, here. Let's first of all, whether it's right or not, this is going to be a meme, right? That guy's face poking through the window there will be replaced by who knows what. But those look like Secret Service. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know that it's still streaming. I'm about to now look at comments. So, but I wanted to show this picture. So you all have probably seen it. But this is pretty memeable once the dust settles, as long as nobody else gets really hurt. I don't know if this is the incident. You can see they're barricading this door with I don't know what the hell this is. It looks like a bench, maybe, or a credenza, or I don't know what it is. So unprecedented, relatively speaking. And there's been some, this sort of talk back and forth now that if Pence is the one who called in the National Guard, that seems to imply that some power has been stripped from Trump. But I feel like that is that's spurious speculation there, right? I believe the vice president has a means by which he can invoke the National Guard. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. But people are saying, oh, well, that's evidence that the 25th Amendment has been invoked and Trump has been removed from power. Okay, so I'm going to look at some comments now and see how wrong I was about some of the stuff that I said, and address some questions and say hi to everybody. And I'm sorry that I posted that I wasn't going to stream, and then I ended up streaming. And hey, yeah, I mean, it is 2021, so magically all this arbitrary system by which we increment numbers and call them years means that 2020 is in the rearview mirror, and we can compartmentalize it into this thing and say, well, 2020 was bad, but 2021 is going to be gooder. Hi Q, hi Lexi, Larrikins, Butterfly. I said Butterfly Composer already, didn't I? Chels, hey Chels, how are you doing? Colorful Dreams. Slim, Thick, Skinny Queen. I don't think I've seen or met you before, but hello. Yeah, just they're just exercising their Second Amendment rights and their First Amendment rights and their 79th Amendment rights. Emmy, hi. Yeah, Emmy, I am stressed. I mean, I was stressed before this was happening. So this was just shit icing on a shit cake. Xava, as you all know, lives in Brittany, which is a region of France. French Revolution. That's all I got to say about that. Let's behead a bunch of people. Well, yes, the benefit of war is you get an excuse not to do your calculus homework. It's very important that you study math as much as possible, because you're not going to go through your whole life with a calculator in your pocket. Oh, well, yeah, I don't know if people saw the footage of, there were some impressive displays of athleticism going on there, and also some non-impressive displays of, hey, if we don't want this wall to be scalable, maybe we shouldn't every 2 feet put these line indentations so that people can just kind of grab them. And if they have any skill at rock climbing at all, they'd be able to scale these walls. Hi, Maddie. I don't know. I certainly hope everyone is safe. I went back and forth. Honestly, I I can't be in big crowds of people. Like, even if I felt better, which I just don't feel very well, but even if I felt better, like, I would have a panic attack. Like, I know this is like really war. If war broke out, we needed people at the front lines. I'd be like, I would love to help, really, but I would get an anxiety attack, and it would be a waste of everybody's time. So maybe, why don't you keep me back here, and I can. I don't even know what I could do. Right? I don't possess any grand strategic abilities. Perhaps I could entertain the troops as a gesture of some kind. Oh, and hey, somebody new. Le besoin de servir. I don't know if that's pronouncing that right, but it's the way I say things when I'm trying to say things in French. Hello from France. Perhaps you know Xava, because she is also from France. Therefore, you all probably live in the same neighborhood and see each other every day. Yeah, well, when you have a president, a commander-in-chief, who has pardoned everybody who has done anything wrong in his name, now, you might get a false sense of what is allowed or not allowed. And also you might get a false sense of, like, if you're nameless, he doesn't give a fuck about you, right? He'll pardon you if you can help him in the future, and two, if it is a gesture done to placate the base, or to appeal to even across the aisle to voters straddling the fence. Although at this point now, he's just pardoning anyone he thinks. He's just like, he's literally like, I need people to owe me favors. So who's going to be the most useful people to owe me a favor? I'll pardon you. So it gave people, I think, this false sense that, like, maybe they could do whatever they wanted, get away with it. They weren't wearing masks. And one of the things that, like, Antifa has always been on their members, and Antifa is not a single organization. But they have been very clear about communicating, cover your face. Like, not because of COVID, right? Just cover your face. Don't let your face be seen by cameras. And these people were just like, not only were they not wearing masks, they seemed to revel in the few moments of fame they will get as a prelude to perhaps their 20 years in prison, or minimum 10 years. Again, something that Trump tweeted out himself. Anyone who engages in this kind of activity, at least 10 years minimum. 10 years minimum. We'll see about that. Yes, and La Visa de Subi and Xava. We have the French representation here. Oh, my memory's not great. Colorful Dreams. You're French as well? I'm sorry. I'm silly. Let me go through. I'm going to have to go through this pretty quickly because there's a bunch of these comments here. Hi, Leah. I agree. Ryan. Yeah, this is what people think matters, right? What people think about you matters. Like, you can say, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. But if you could get the entire world to think you're the best thing on, two legs, then you would be able to get whatever you wanted whenever you wanted. So what people think about you does matter. You can live in a way where you don't care what people think about you, but you are swimming upstream. I'm not saying it's not a valid way to live. And I'm also not saying that you shouldn't care what people think about you, because I really think, like, ideally you shouldn't. But there are consequences for that, right? Yes, I live just outside. I live, well, I've said this. Yeah, I live I am across the Potomac from Washington. Washington, D.C. itself is very, very small, just a few square miles. Very few people who work in D.C. live in D.C. They mostly all live on the other side of the river. But I actually did live in D.C. for a little while, in 2016. Hello, Lady Nervar. Good to see you. Oh, just talking about the flag. Sorry, I'm going to have to, okay, let me just, oh, see, I didn't know this. Good thing PG is on it. So I knew that there were suspicious devices, but I didn't know if they were actual IEDs or not. Yep, very true, colorful. Yeah. It's an interesting question. The thing is, like, I'd suspect not that many. I assume you're not talking about, like, as infiltrators, but as genuine members of the militia. I suspect that not that many were actual police officers or retired police officers. I'd be surprised, I guess, just because I would think that police officers would at least know they would know the law a little better than the average citizen, perhaps, and what the possible repercussions were. But then again, right? I mean, what are the repercussions? Dunno. I would have to see this. Yes, Chels. This is, I think a lot of people think back to, oh God, the beer hall putsch, but it's, I'm forgetting the name of that hall, but I think a lot of people are looking at this and saying to themselves, one, America deserves whatever they get. Two, 250 years of existence, 250 years. The bicentennial was, well, roughly 250 years of existence. It's not that long. It's not very long for a country, actually. So we get this kind of false feeling of permanence to our institutions that may or may not actually be there. I gotta jump down here. Jason and Michelle, oh, good to see you. Hola back. The way I'm feeling right now, it's nada y nada y nada y pues nada. Son palabras de Hemingway. A clean, well-lighted place. Yes. I think everybody was probably forced to read that, probably at an age where the nihilism of it didn't either really hit you hard or went over your head. For me, it went over my head. I had to go back and read Hemingway when I was a little older. So even, yes, prior, not even the Civil War, right? So Grace on top of it. Wow, okay, so never by American citizens. Brain Andrew, Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre hope he's doing okay. I got to get through these. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to jump here. Um, oh, hi. Oh, you changed your name. Have a good night. Yes. Um, yeah, there's something else to remember is, and they were chanting super spreader event at one point. Literally, like, I would wish, I'm not going to wish anything. So a new 742, I saw some video of a protester who kind of stood next to a cop and took a selfie, or a police officer. I don't really see a problem with that. Like at that point where they were, I didn't really see a problem with that. Like if the person was like, oh man, could I get a selfie with you? Right? Like, cause I don't really see, like they weren't, from what I could tell at that point, I don't know if they done something illegal yet. I don't know. Right, exactly. I gotta catch up. Gotta catch up with everybody. Yeah. So the lockdown started at 6. Oh no. A lockdown meaning, really it's a curfew from 6 till 6. I did. Now I did say hi. Well, he said this himself. He's literally said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't get arrested and he wouldn't lose his base. And I don't know. I surely hope that as a private citizen, once he becomes a private citizen again, he's going to lose a lot of protections, but he's also going to gain some. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Isha-chan, hello. It's good to see you. Would you take us back? That's the real question. Hey, KJ, good to see you. Violet, good to see you. GP, I don't know. Greetings, I don't know you. But thank you for joining. I'm there. This is where I am. So this is the boring. I don't find it boring, but part of my problem with live streams is like when the person doing the stream is interacting with chat, then anyone seeing it who's not there live, or if I'm going back in the chat log, they're only getting one side of the conversation, and they're probably not getting all the context, even if I set it. Oh, Nicholas, how dare you? How dare you forget? Oh my gosh, I know this person. I do wonder, because certainly, like, somebody's going to have to evaluate what the consequences were. Like, it's all well and good to be like, it was just a bunch of doofy people who wanted to get in there and take selfies of themselves sitting at senators' desks. But it's also very possible that there were elements here that would have included opportunistic sort of well, yeah, like an opportunistic way to access information that would otherwise be almost, and also not only the ability to access that information, but the ability to mask the fact that you accessed that information. Perhaps Russia was behind this entire thing after all. Yep. Yep. Get down here to the bottom. I'm sick of Me Too. This is that's a great. The word, since doing these live streams, that's the second new meaning for the word cabbage that I've learned. But it's such a it's an inherently phonetically funny word. So the more meanings, the more different meanings we can give it, the better. The more cabbage works its way into the slang of our youth, I'm behind it. Where I see people saying hi to Elliot, but I don't see Elliot. Where's Elliot? Oh, hi Elliot. Hope that you're doing well. Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta jumped. Wow, I'm this far behind, and there's still people watching. Jesus Christ. Right. So this is the fact that Merrick Garland was chosen as the Attorney General. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of Rowenge going on. And it's going to feel good. All right, so this still hasn't changed as of 8:41. Yeah, Lisa, this is what I read as well, was that he was given the opportunity to do so and did not. Okay. Oh, whoops. This is not. Well, but this was probably a mistake. But I don't know. Yeah, Nicholas, I heard about this too. So as far as super spreader events go, like it ticked all the boxes, right? It ticked, sedition, yes. Treasonous, yes. Exposing secrets to foreign agencies, yes. Illustrative of the race inequalities in America, yes. Illustrative of Trump's seemingly Teflon ability to get away with whatever the F he wants. Yes. Although Twitter banned him, right? So, yeah, this is definitely going to be, like, here's it's interesting to me, like, when I read about history, and there seems to be, like, whenever I read about history, even if it's American history, I feel like there's this barrier, and I don't feel like it comes from solely my age or my generation, because I feel like that barrier would be closer if that were the case. But I feel like post World War II, right? All the things that happened kind of pre-World War II when, at least for me, like I look at that stuff and it feels so alien. And in a way, there's this sort of false sense of security that comes from that feeling, which is kind of is this working? Is this one working? It's very blue over here. I have a blue light on the right side of my face, but for some reason, well, and yeah, this is showing the right side of my face. But it sort of lulls me into this false sense of security, and that I will read about these things and think, well, in the age, because of the advances in technology, weaponry, intelligence, communication, because of all of these advancements, there are certain things that can't happen this way anymore, right? Things like this can't really happen anymore. They seem like of another time as much as, the Persian Wars, right? Like they have this sort of distant feeling, anything pre-1940, 45, right? But that's not true. And it's arbitrary, and I think it's an easy trap to fall into. It's just, we can't necessarily predict how, or maybe what the long-term fallout is going to be. And almost like that idea of one of the biggest problems, there's a school of thought that says that one of the biggest problems with finding life on other planets is going to be, it's not even necessarily going to be finding the life, it's going to be recognizing it as life. Because it could be so fundamentally different that it isn't something that we would necessarily classify as life. And because what we classify as life is a fairly arbitrary set of, autonomy versus growth versus assembling some form of order from chaos, all the criteria that we use to define life, apart from, at least carbon-based life, certainly, the same kind of things apply to the way that we would think about wars starting or these massively significant acts that we just I don't know that we're going to necessarily see them coming until we're able to look back on them. And then looking back on them, people who look back on them and have learned from them, and then people who are born after that will kind of be like, how did you all not see this coming, right? But like today, even today is just, how could we not see that coming? This could not have been telegraphed enough prior to today. So, whatever. Well, okay, so first of all, coffee, Cheetos, and chicken. I forgive you if just because of your Aphex Twin logo. And I don't really have that much of a problem with fiscal Republicans. I'm not one of them, obviously, but it's more when it comes to matters of the hypocrisies in American right-wing doctrine of control, and what we right-wingers will try and sell you on the fact that they don't want to control you. And yet, one of their pillars is, no abortions. And I understand that their point of view is, well, we're standing up for the right of the child, but let science tell you when it's a child, and we have to make sort of an informed decision, and context matters, and the mother's life matters. Anyway, hey, Flaglow, good to see you. Loads new. Are there a bunch of new people here tonight? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I shouldn't. I should just kind of surprise stream all the time. I need to make you all crave it. I'm withholding to use it as leverage. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like many of these people traveled across the country to get here, and they're gonna bring their strains home with them. I don't think you will. Okay, I'm seeing people saying I'm not caught up with the chat. I want to get caught up with the chat. I'd like to talk to a couple people and probably keep this short tonight because I am sort of tired and a bit down. Okay, so Congress, who knows when this was? Well, this would be kind of cyclical. I'm really getting annoyed at Ecamm because it is consistently putting up the comment next to the comment that I am actually clicking. By the way, I started playing Soma last night, thinking I might stream that. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'm gonna go down to the bottom here, but if you do feel like talking about what's going on, obviously if you work in government, so much the better, but well, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's true. Like, regardless, like what happened here, what happened today, how many people were there? A few thousand people, right? I don't really think that, now maybe I could be wrong, right? Like there could be mirror events that happen over the next few days across the country. But I would view this as an isolated sort of fringe splinter event and not really one that would necessarily be indicative of, there's no question that there is like a huge dichotomous chasm between the right and the left right now, but I don't know that the unity narrative is naive, maybe ambitious. But yeah, so if you want to chat, if you want to be on camera and chat a little bit about what's going on, go ahead and shoot an email to adeadsymbol@gmail.com. As usual, prefer people who haven't been on yet. Oh, I'm sorry, Elliot. Well, I hope that you get less stressed and you stay safe as well. Yeah, it's interesting the lines that we draw, and feelings are weird. Violet, good night. Good night. Oops. One of these days I will do a stream earlier in the day. And oh, happy birthday if I don't talk to you before then. Hey Jessica, good to see you. Yeah. I might as well be 100 miles outside of DC. I think if you're on that side of the Potomac, got to be careful. If you're on this side of the Potomac, probably doesn't really matter. Or it doesn't really matter if you're here any more than any other part of America that might be doing stuff like that. I'm almost caught up. The scroll bar here shows that I'm almost at the bottom. You know, the more... No, I won't do this, Q. Yes, they're different. What's considered conservative, and even what a republic is. And I mean, even you just got to look back in time to see what Republicans used to stand for, even here. Things change. Hey, Peep Knox. Look at this. I'm almost caught up. Oh, Václav. Good night. Hope you have a good night. Good to see you. If Biden pardons whom? Who would Biden pardon? I would love to talk to you, Flalo. Just saying. You know, you say one day, and then it becomes, it never happens. All right, I am now caught up. Good night, Emmy B. Let's see. Let's see if anybody bit. Does anybody do... I actually have a question. This is going to sound really bougie, but does anyone do like meal services of any kind? One of my... If you have resolutions, or not really resolutions, things that you just want to try and do, one of mine is the nearly ubiquitous eat better. But I'm so bad at keeping a stocked kitchen that I'm wondering if there are any meal services that aren't super pricey and are worth it that people have tried. What do we got here? Oh, well, I got my electric bill came to this address. Holy crap. I used a lot of electricity this month. It was cold. Oh, here. Hi, Phoenician Sailor. Your account has been locked for violating Twitter rules. Specifically for violating our rules against posting misleading information about voting. I was posting it, like the caption for posting it is specifically calling out that it's misleading. It's saying proceed to Twitter now to fix the issue with your account. Repeated violations will lead to a permanent suspension. Oh boy. Oh boy. Can't do anything right. All right, I got to do a bio break. So I'm going to do a bio break. While I do a bio break, keep the emails coming in if you want. And we can talk about whatever. We can talk about New Year's resolutions. We can talk about storming the Capitol. We can talk about whatever you would like. But yeah, I'll be right back. Looks like Trump was banned from Facebook for 24 hours. I mean, good on all y'all. Good on your Twitter. Good on your Facebook. Little LTTP, right? This is really kind of... I'm hearing a lot of room noise tonight. I'm not sure why. So before taking a call, I also did want to read something real quick. And it's something I've read from before. I've been reading a bunch of his stuff now. And, Chels, good night. And good luck babysitting your niece. I wanted to tell you, I looked at the place that you work. It looks fascinating. Like, if you haven't looked at the website for the place where Chels works, I don't know if she wants to advertise it or not, but it looks like a magical place. It's okay, I wrote Peter Pan. I forgot his name. But anyway, so I've been reading a bunch. Why are you rejecting story time? It's very short. It's like, it's literally one page. And it unfortunately kind of leads to my conclusion that his other books I haven't enjoyed very much, and I haven't really... Oh, look at this, Lexi. Thank you for the update. Man, it would be great to see, like, just en masse this kind. Did I say en masse? En masse? If there just started to be, like, tons of people who are like, all right, I put up with this for as long as I could, and that's it. I'm done. And we just saw everybody leaving. That'd be fun. I gotta admit. Lady Narabar, good night. This is going to be a short stream. PG's resigning. Well, if you truly worked at the White House, you'd know it's two separate words. And you're clearly British because you must be thinking of Mary Whitehouse. Good night, Lady Naravar. Good night, Chels. Yeah, it was really cool looking place. All right, this is a very short story, and it's what originally, it's originally the story that sold me on Brian Evanson. Just because I thought, oh well, if this is what we're starting with, where is it going to go from here? Excuse me. And I do still recommend, I guess I recommend him if you're into uncanny short horror stories. And this is a pretty good collection of those. Songs for the Unraveling of the World. Then I read another book of his, A Collapse of Horses. I was not quite... But, GP, this is a Wendy's. Oh, Elliot would like the Soma streams. So, Soma, I just play... Here's what I do, right? I play it a little bit, right? Just to see if it's the kind of game that I think I would want to stream. And I'm not always right? Obviously, like, I think a game would be a blast and it ends up being horrible. But Soma, from what I played of it, I was really getting into the story. Like, I was really sort of like, where is this going? Even though I have a strong suspicion, I really hope that I'm wrong. Like, I hope that what I think is not. So, actually, I'm just going to say it because, so if it's the same, because I don't know if this is the ending or not. So, it's not a spoiler for Soma because I have no idea if this is actually how it ends. But if it ends the way that Little Hope ended, the Man of Medan Dark Pictures anthology piece of crap that I played, which was It's All a Dream, if Soma ends that way, I'm going to be like, only so many things can end with It's All a Dream. And they've already been used up for the next 100 years, right? Like, leave it. Let's leave that trope. Nobody use it. It'll become fresh again someday. But it is a stinking hunk of crap now. So I'm hoping that Soma does not end with It's All a Dream. Oh, it does not. Okay, Flavia. Well, that's all I need to know then. Good. All right. I'm sorry, Pavi. I was not. I didn't want to stream. I really was not in the mood to stream. At the end of the stream, I will reveal that the stream itself was a dream. So Brian Evanson writes some pretty good, uncanny horror stories. Let's kick on a little reverb. This one's the shortest one. Why is the reverb not working? I'm not getting any I'm not hearing reverb. Shit. All right, screw the reverb. So he writes uncanny short stories, and he's pretty good at it, although he's got kind of a boring name. He doesn't have, the name that, if you're reading a book by Brian Evanson, there's nothing wrong with that name. It's fine. Wait a minute. Lexi, are you now I don't know if I'm being, am I being played with here? Is this stream going to turn into me just going to CNN to see what's going on? Well, so one GOP congresswoman is no longer challenging Biden's win. That's good. I wonder what Ted Cruz is going to do. Oh, man. 2. Another senior staffer for the First Lady resigns. National security officials are considering resigning. Can you imagine if this turned into an en masse, just sort of rats? What? I don't know if you're hearing. Gotta mute this. Democracy. That would be amazing if a bunch of people resigned. Wow. If the senator, I mean, I know Ted Cruz is still going to, so Daines and Langford are now going to vote to affirm Biden. hush, hush, hush. If this is the thing, oh no, I understand this, right? Like, I don't see this as like a. I mean, I think you might have the isolated case where somebody's just like, you know what, this is all my conscience can take, right? I've finally reached my breaking point. My breaking point is, I'm okay with the racism and the killing in the name of, and the, the divisive rhetoric, but storming the Capitol, that's where I draw the line. That's when I finally say, this far, but no more. Pence had a speech. What? See, this is the other thing. I don't want to cause people to miss what's going on. And here I'm gonna read a short story by Brian Evanson. It has nothing to do with anything. What is Sad Gals with Guitars? I've never seen you before, so hello. Kelly condemned Trump's actions. That would be a major first. Yeah, I don't think PG wants public opinion to change too. He's just saying that it's not speaking to the character of these people that are resigning. That they're still just looking out for numero uno. Yeah, impeached would have been perfect. But honestly, like, everybody seems to be very much like, well, come 2024, 2025, or come 2024, he will run again. I don't know that he would. Right? Because especially now, right? But he lost the popular vote by more than 7 million votes. The senators that he backed, like now in Georgia, the senators he backed, they lost. Like, what? The cult of personality will continue, but I just don't think he has the numbers anymore. And I don't think the GOP, maybe he would form a new third party. But I just don't think he'd get the numbers. But then again, right? Like, I say that, and then there are people now who look back and say, well, hey, you know what? George W. Bush, he was an okay guy. George W. Bush was not an okay guy. It's just relative to what we're experiencing now that George W. Bush was an okay guy. And it's the fact that time has passed and we have lost the indignation of the moment, as it were. Since it's a page long, I'm just going to read it. But I would really appreciate it if there's anybody who's keeping up on the news, please go ahead and post any major updates in the chat. Meanwhile, Brian Evanson, no matter which way we turned. No matter which way we turned the girl, she didn't have a face. There was hair in the front and hair in the back. Only saying which was the front and which was the back was impossible. I got Jim's slip to look on one side, and I looked from the other, and the other members of the lodge tried to hold her gently or not so gently in place. But no matter how we looked at or held her, the face just wasn't there. Her mother was screaming, blaming us. But what could we do about it? We weren't to blame. There was nothing we could have done. It was Earl Cram who got the idea of calling out to the sky, calling out after the lights as they receded to tell them to come and take her. "You've taken half of her," he shouted. You've taken the same half of her twice. Now goddamn have the decency to take the rest of her. Some of the others joined in, but they didn't come back, none of them. They left, and left us with a girl who, no matter how you looked at her, you saw her from the back. She didn't eat, or if she did so in a way that we couldn't see. She just kept turning in circles, walking backwards, knocking into things, trying to grab things with the backs of her hands. She was a whole girl made of two half girls, but wrongly made, two of the same halves. After a while, we couldn't hardly bear to look at her. In the end, we couldn't think of what to do except leave her. At first, her mother protested and bit and clawed. But in the end, she didn't want to take her either. She just wanted to feel better about letting her go, to have the blame rest on us. We nailed planks across the door and boarded up the windows at Verl's request. We left the hole in the roof in the hopes that they would come back for her. For a while, we posted a sentry outside the door, who reported to the lodge on the sound of her scrabbling within. But once the noise stopped, we gave up on that as well. Late at night, I dreamed of her. Not the doubled half of the girl we had, but doubled half we didn't. I saw her miles above us, in air rarefied and thin, not breathable by common means at all, floating within their vessel. There she was, a girl who, no matter where you turned, always faced you. A girl who bared her teeth and stared. And that's it. It's 5 paragraphs. But that's all you need, right? Baby shoes for sale, baby shoes barely worn. So seeing that was enough for me to be like, oh, this is fascinating. I want to check out more of this guy's stuff. But yeah, the name Brian Evanson, I feel like he might have done better to get himself an intriguing pen name with initials. It's not vague. It's like, it's kind of South Carolina, right? Or is this more Texas? And then we turned the girl one more time, and then I was tapped on the shoulder, and I woke up in my bed. I was sound as $1 a pound. My alarm was going off. It was time to go to work. I went to turn my alarm around, and on the other side was another alarm. No matter which way I turned that alarm, well, he's lazy. Oh my God. Well, see, I never finished Lost, but I saw enough of it to know that they were just making it up as they went along. And I have yet to see something from Damon Lindelof that I have found to have a satisfying conclusion. Now, the recent Watchmen that he did on HBO, I felt like that started really strong. But again, it kind of fell apart. Aphex Twin, the music of Aphex Twin changed your life. I was never, at the time Aphex Twin was popular, which, I'm talking early 90s, around the time Come to Daddy, I think, came out. A little before that, maybe. I wasn't really into electronic music at all. Like, that just wasn't my thing. I had friends who were very much into it, and it was the thing at that time, right? This is when raves were all the rave. I went to raves to score ecstasy, but not to listen to music. This is true. Man, imagine if we all woke up tomorrow and Trump was just a dream. That's exactly what would happen. But when I heard, so there were a few, I think, people that I listened to that made me reconsider electronic music. And I'm talking about like more of the hyper aggressive stuff. I always loved Tangerine Dream. So I mean, there were definitely electronic based bands that I really, really liked. But in that style, that sort of breakbeat mixed with dance, mixed with, hyper fast tempo changes, and like I'm talking about that kind of stuff. Helicopter. So it was Aphex Twin, Square Pusher, and Higher Intelligence Agency. I think those were the three that when I heard stuff from them, like I remember listening to Bucephalus Bouncing Ball from Aphex Twin and just being like, wow, what the, like not even knowing what to make of it, having to listen to it a bunch of times. And yet now the only stuff I listen to from him still is his ambient. He put out 2 ambient albums, Aphex Twin's ambient recorded works, volume 1 and 2. And I still have those songs from there on my playlists now. And that's, 30 years old, whatever. Don't listen to Square Pusher anymore. Do listen to Tangerine Dream quite a lot. I'm quite into Tangerine Dream. More into instrumental music now than I was when I was younger. And into Japanese composers. Well, a couple of them. But I don't know how to say his first name, but Richiyu Sakamoto. In fact, it's interesting that comes up because I actually recently rewatched Babel. I'm a big fan of that genre of movies that came out in the aughts from Spanish directors, South American directors, Guillermo del Toro, Alfonso Cuarón, Alejandro Amenabar. I'm forgetting a few, but I'm a huge, like Amoros Perros, Y Tu Mama Tambien, and more recently, Pain and Glory. Pain and Glory has made it onto, like, the more I think about that movie, the more I like it. So I was rewatching Babel, which is in Inadaru. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's in Inadaru. Alejandro Inadaru is the director. And I was doing it mostly because of the score, which is largely composed by Richiyu Sakamoto, and as anyone who's a gamer knows, Gustavo Santaolalla. So if you've never seen, Amenabar. Did I say Amenabar? Inarritu. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but yes, that's who I'm referring to. I don't know who this is. Inyaratu. Isn't that what that means? You got to go ny. Oh, God, I cannot hit the right. That was Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah, he did like Children of Men. He definitely, I mean, he went mainstream, but he's a great director, and he did Gravity, which was great. But so, yeah, exactly. Instrumental music. If you take Gustavo Santaolalla and like, I don't know who is the brilliant musical mind, the music director or the composer or the arranger for Babel, however you pronounce that. But whoever had the idea to say, let's take Sakamoto and Santaolalla and let's tenant them. And I would listen to Biba no Zora and Endless Flight, like on a loop from that. Can I play a little bit of it here without getting, like, just the sort of the lamenting theme at the beginning of Biba no Zora, and it's just simple piano chords. It's kind of like Beethoven's Pathetic Melody. Really simple, but somehow like just like conveying so much really, really gets to me. There are times when I just can't. Like I just can't. I'm in a state of mind where it's like, if I put this on now, I am staring at a wall and not going to do anything for the next, I don't know how long, but contemplate how much a wall looks like a wall, and how life ticks by regardless of if you are looking at a wall or running a marathon or skiing the Swiss Alps. Babel. I've heard people say Babel. I'm pretty sure it's Babel. But I also probably think, yeah, you could get away with either one. Anyway, can I do that? I'm going to try and do it. Don't know if this is going to work. But that's what unscheduled streams are for. Trying stuff you're not sure if they're going to work. Okay. Let's see if this works. Did anybody hear music just then? Because it's not showing up for me. But did anyone just hear like some piano chords just then? Oh, wait. Oh, good night, Anu. Thank you for coming by. I'm going to get rid of this because I don't even know if I'm going to get around to this tonight. Oh, you heard it through my headphones, though. Oh, you were hearing it feedback through my headphones. That's not what I want at all. Okay. Yeah, I'd probably just have to. If you look up Bibo no Zora by Ruchi Sakamoto, and then prepare to be depressed. Come on, depression's fun. It's how you can put stuff in perspective, and not care about lots of other stuff. Yeah, you're hearing him practice. So I did a tenant video. I shot, graded, and put it up in like, I want to say it was like maybe a day. Like it was very, very fast. But building the set for it, and here, I'll paste, just look for this. And don't get the live one. Like, you got to hear, the way it's meant to be recorded. So, but building the set for that tenant video and thinking about what I was going to do in it and kind of coming up with what I wanted the idea to be, that took over a week. But it is interesting that I found it interesting that I was able to, because I did not have a good Christmas vacation. I did not, my holidays were not, it was not a good time, right? Like I didn't get to see family and stuff. Like it was, well, no, I did get to see my son and my stepdaughter briefly, very briefly, but yeah, it was not good. It took a long time to set up the set for Tenet, and then actually shooting it and grading it went really quickly. And a thing that I thought afterwards was, how people are always doing those, well, what if you shot, what is really important when you're shooting a video like that, right? Or when you're shooting a video? And obviously the audio is arguably, the audio is a very close second to the video, the end video image, but it's arguably more important than any individual part of the video image. And by that I mean the IQ of the video image, the lighting, all the constituent parts. The audio is more important. So I guess I was thinking, and I had been so impressed with the, it's right here. Here, I'm showing off here. The iPhone 12 Pro Max. Which I can't really see it. The best thing about this phone is the camera, by far. So you see it has 3 lenses. It has an ultra wide lens. It has a normal lens, and it has a telephoto lens. But the thing about them that make them cool to me is that they have IBIS. They have image stabilization built in, physical as well as software image stabilization. So you're kidding me, really, Václav? Then I'm not sure. Are you comfortable saying how old they are? So for those who don't know, Václav and I bear a passing resemblance to each other. I wouldn't say, obviously Václav is a really good looking guy. I'm not. But we were born in the same month, same year. Just a difference of a few days there. So it's weird, the number of coincidences that we have. And he lives on the other side of the world, Other side of the world. So what I wanted to do was, I've done all this stuff for video making, basically, right? As far as lighting goes, sound setup goes, camera setup goes. And I wanted to see, like, well, okay, what if I kept the lighting, kept the set, kept the audio, but instead of using this camera that I usually use to record videos, which these cameras are live stream cameras, I don't use these to record regular videos. I think I did once. I think I have a video called "It Starts with a Whisper" that I just recorded here, like it was a live stream. I don't usually do that. So I thought, well, what if I recorded, the Tenet video on the iPhone 12? Well, another alert. Let's see. No, opinion piece. It'd be nice if you could, in your alerts, if you could also filter by not just do you want to get alerted, but what types of news you want to be alerted from. And you could say, opinion pieces, no. Special interest or what the hell do they call them? Personal interest or personal interest stories. Don't want to do anything with that. But give me the big headlines. Anyway, I thought I could use the iPhone Pro Max 12 and see how close I could get the image to what comes out of the camera that I use for regular videos, which is a Canon C200, which is an expensive camera. It's very cheap now. Well, it's cheap compared to what it was, and I think it's extremely cheap for what you get. It's still a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a camera, right? It's funny, my idea of what a lot of money for a camera is has changed since I've gotten into cameras. I used to think, oh my God, $500, that's expensive. And I'm not talking, $500 is a lot of money, but I don't think of that as a lot of money for a camera, right? But it's a lot of money. It's not like I'm not rolling in it over here. Wait, what's suspicious? Oh, look at that. Okay, no, so mine are much younger, right? I started late. So my daughter is 11 and my son is 6. Grace, I agree that the camera, like for pictures, is great. I have a Panasonic GH5. I don't carry it around anymore for stills. The camera in the 12, for me, is as good, especially with a LiDAR. LiDAR is incredible. To me, it's like we're taking these photos, we're getting these results that I don't think we really appreciate how much is actually being done to simulate depth of field. I mean, the iPhone is literally, and other cameras too, right? But the phone camera is literally using a form of laser radar to map out the distance between the camera and the destination in order to determine how out of focus those areas should be to simulate large format sensors. It's not like with the iPhone 10 where it was like you do portrait mode and it kind of knows what a person is, the general shape of a person, and it just cuts that out and doesn't blur that, but then blurs what's behind it. It's not like that anymore. It actually knows the difference between something that's here, something that's here, something that's here, and it blurs them. Like you're seeing my hand get progressively more blurry as it goes back further. It's doing that using LiDAR now, and it still picks out people, right? And it still does some special processing that I don't love. I wish I had more control over. And there's some software that does give you more control over that stuff, like Filmic Pro does that. But it's amazing some of the stuff that's being done there. But anyway, my point for all that was I thought maybe, like, hey, maybe it is all in the lighting and the set and the setup, and I'm fooling myself with these cameras. I don't record audio to my camera. I don't record high frame rates. All I need is a camera that records 24 frames a second. It's got to be 4K. I didn't used to think it had to be 4K. The reason that it has to be 4K, in my opinion, is not because it's not for framing issues. It's not people say, I want a 4K image and I want to be able to crop in on it. And it's not because 1080p doesn't look good enough on its own. For me, it's because YouTube's compression, they give you more bandwidth if you upload in 4K. So so you actually will get a better looking video. YouTube probably doesn't want you to know this, right? Because this is kind of like something that it just costs them money, and it doesn't actually give an ROI I think that they would find worth it. But if you film an HD image, like a standard 1080p image, then you upscale it to 4K and re-render it at 4K. You look at it on your computer, it looks the same to you, right? Because it's the same thing. Every pixel becomes 4 pixels, right? But you upload that to YouTube, and YouTube allocates you more bandwidth for the 4K version. Even though there's actually no more detail in there, it gives you more bits per second of bandwidth for 4K uploads. And therefore, if you took those two same files and uploaded them to YouTube, you would see a difference. You would see less macro blocking and fewer compression artifacts in the upscaled 1080p 4K image. So, are people picking on me? Why are y'all picking on me? Look, all I'm trying to say is, and if I don't ramble, these will be very short live streams. All I was trying to say was, I thought that maybe cameras had gotten to the point where I could because when people are talking about like why they're paying a lot for cameras, it's because it's got built-in neutral density filters. They've got XLR mic ins. They've got, it does no noise reduction, so it gives me a raw image. Things that, apart from the raw image, I don't tend to use. Like I shoot in a studio setting. Well, studio is a euphemism, I guess, for my basement. But I control the lights, is what I'm saying. So I don't need a neutral density filter. I don't need it. So a lot of the elements that are in the camera that I have that I use to make videos, I don't use them. I don't think I've ever taken the camera that I use to shoot YouTube videos on. Again, not talking about these. These I do take. I don't think that one's ever moved, or I've ever taken it outside. And it has XLR audio ins. It has internal neutral density filters. It has things where I wish I could have sacrificed those things and said, just give me a better image. Give me more dynamic range, right? Anyway, to circle back around, I wanted to see if cameras had gotten to the point where maybe, just maybe, I didn't need to have a super expensive static camera to shoot my videos anymore. And if the lighting was good enough, or good enough, good is, I don't want to say good. If the lighting was appropriate and the set was appropriate, the small sensor, because these are tiny sensors still, each one of these lenses has its own unique sensor. So yeah, I wanted to see if I could use an iPhone as a camera and what that would be like. And you may not be surprised to know or to learn that you're not really going to be able to see that, right? But phone cameras still have a way to go in video quality to approach the kind of dynamic range and lack of noise that you can get from a APS-C or a Super 35 or even a Micro Four Thirds sensor. So bottom line for all of that was I still got to use a real camera to shoot videos. I can't just stick my phone on a tripod and do that. It's not even usable as a B cam. These cameras here, I can use them as B cams. And in the Tenet video on the Phoenician Sailor channel, I have a B cam set up showing the objects that are inverted as I kind of grab them. That is being shot on a C100. So I have a C100 and a C200. They're both Canons down there. The C100 is 7 or 8 years old now. I'm going to say, people may think this is gauche, but when I bought the C100, it was $5,000 and $5,500. I paid it. It took me 3 years to pay it off. So 7 years ago, that camera was $5,500. Now you can get it for about $1,000. It's still an awesome camera. And if you're willing to, if you want to get a good large sensor camera, you don't care about high frame rates. You want nice high quality audio built into the camera. You want a really good image quality. You, for whatever reason, want built-in neutral density filters. Getting a used Canon C100 is a really good option. But of course, that's kind of, I think when you convert it, it is a little more than that. Yeah. But that's, so for under $1,000, you can get a camera that basically would shoot. I mean, the cameras that George Lucas used on The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. The cameras that he used to shoot those cameras were $150,000 when he was using them. That's how much each camera cost. You can get them now for under $5,000 if you can find one. It's not supported. Like, if it breaks, you're effed. Like, there's all sorts of reasons why it's not a good idea. But the fact that you could buy the camera that was used to make less than 20 years ago the biggest blockbuster movies of that time, I think that's pretty neat. Okay, Maddie, good night. Anyway, yeah, I think that's about right, and that's a lot, right? That's why I'm so grateful to my patrons and you all for watching YouTube video ASMR videos that have ads in the front of them, because it's been 6 years, and I'm definitely still in the red, right? I'm definitely, every cent that I make from Patreon or Super Chats or YouTube ad revenue has all gone back into cameras, lighting, camera gear, audio gear, switchers, you name it. Flaglow, good night. I'm probably going to wrap up here in a minute. I'm actually probably just not going to even do any interviews tonight. Sorry if but I wasn't going to stream at all. I wasn't feeling it, And so this was a good way to pass a couple hours. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me as we talked about the rise and fall of the person who will be, one thing's for sure, he has secured a place for himself in history. Fame or infamy. Arguably, infamy gets you more copy space. These were the first digital cameras. These were the first all-digital cameras made by Panasonic. I believe they were Panavision cameras, so they were not film cameras. And I think they were the first movies made with digital cameras. I think. $28.14. Okay, yes, I love Tangerine Dream. So yes. Oh, everybody loves Maddie, and I think that's great. I love Maddie too. She's great. And Grace, yeah. I was already on edge and having trouble concentrating at work when seeing this stuff. Oh, they were the first. Okay. Yeah, I thought they were, but I wasn't. I was speaking out of my ass a little bit, but a slightly informed ass. Yeah. Yeah. This is doing that again. Yeah. Yeah, we should all, for that, we should either be grateful or hate him. I recently watched an interview with George Lucas. He has an interesting take on some things. I just think he's not I watched THX 1138. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, yeah, that's all right. Wasn't blown out of the water by anything. But how can you... he was obviously... He even said that this Star Wars was sort of a challenge set to him. And it sort of... I'm not going to start going into Star Wars stuff. The reason that I've even watched a George Lucas interview is because I'm replaying Knights of the Old Republic 2 right now on my iPad, which it works perfect on the iPad. Here's something else I didn't know, because I live under a rock apparently, is you can stream any Steam game to almost any tablet or phone. So when I was playing Soma, I was actually playing Soma on my iPad as well. obviously, if I stream it, I'm not going to be playing it on my iPad. Mando, that's sweet. I really like his voice. So I've seen season 1, and I'm kind of meh on it. I'm having trouble getting the motivation to get into season 2. It feels so formulaic to me, and I think I have a problem with Jon Favreau, and it's probably jealousy or just, I don't know what it's based in, but like, you know, I was never I didn't like Swingers. He came out with this movie that for some reason everybody was saying how great it was, Chef. I think it was just Chef. And I watched that and I was like, oh, why is Scarlett Johansson in this movie? Oh, Scarlett Johansson is Jon Favreau's love interest in this movie. Scarlett Johansson is Jon Favreau's love interest. That seemed to me like a little bit of a I'm gonna write a movie where I can make sure that I have a whatever. So, and Jon Favreau he either conceived it or he's directed a bunch of the episodes or written a bunch of them. I liked Iron Man. I did like Iron Man. Yeah. But I kind of feel like I don't know. Are you talking about the Chef? Yeah, I just don't. The movie was meh, didn't do anything for me, and that just felt like really blatant to me. Hi, Nick. What's up with you? I like your avatar. Is that you? Very indie vibes going on there. Yeah, but see, it's exactly this Baby Yoda. It's this formula of that whole. When I would play games and hate the side quests, The Mandalorian to me kind of feels like a whole show of side quests. Oh. I'm right with you, Lexi. And in fact, I dislike almost every superhero movie. Although, like, I used to just say that as like a blanket, like, I effing hate superhero movies. And they've become, in the past few years, there are some of them that have become more interesting to me by eschewing the very part of superhero movies that turn me off, which is, I could pretty much, hey, remember, this is still from that last drawing. I haven't erased these, which means they're probably, and Lisa won, which means they're going to be hard to, well, no, they are coming off, okay. But I kind of felt like you go like, okay, Luciano, that's going to be the villain this week. And you're going to Luciano again. But my point is, like, you could take like these Lego sets, which ironically they then make tons of money off the Lego versions of these, but they just have like these Lego building blocks of villains, planets, MacGuffins, and hey, Mando really needs to do this thing that he really needs to do, but he really needs this other thing to put into his ship, or he's not going to be able to do this thing that he really needs to do. So this episode is going to be about him going to this totally new place because we have those LED backlit screens that replace green screens and look a lot better. Admittedly, those things are amazing. I don't know if you've looked into the technology that they use for the sets for The Mandalorian, but they replace green screens. They don't use green screens. They actually project the image of what the area is that they want to see. So it's like you're living in a 360-degree dome of the area that was rendered out in 3 dimensions or what have you. And therefore, you get the perfect global illumination that really puts you in that scene that every green screen movie, and I'm going to call out a movie that somebody said I should like, but which I hate because of this, Sky Captain, The World of Tomorrow. To me, I felt like that whole movie, I was just watching something shot in somebody's spare bedroom, and they just kept putting up different shit, green screens behind these people. Although I will say, this is weird for me to say. So I don't watch a lot of ASMR, but I watch some. And traditionally, I hate, or I have, I'm not going to say I hate, I have a lot of trouble getting into ASMR videos that use green screens. Mostly because they're just not very well done. And even though, and it's so weird to me because I don't even really watch ASMR videos. Like, I generally will watch it to, like, okay, I'll watch the first 30 seconds so that I've established the mood. I know where I'm supposed to be. It goes down. I try to fall asleep. Like, that's how I use ASMR videos. So I don't know why I care about the visuals at all. And I don't know why I put any effort into having videos look good when the primary focus is audio. I don't know. I'm not going to relitigate that here now. But I will say that Atlas ASMR does green screens like I've never seen. I haven't talked to him about this, but I'm guessing he uses After Effects, and there are a bunch of I know Magic Bullet like puts out a bunch of software that lets you have like some bleed from the environment, like do rays and like kind of sit you into the environment that you're purportedly in, right? And makes it seem a lot more real. I'd like to know what his process is because it is incredible. And then on the other side of that, there is Made in France ASMR, who he generally does not use green screens. He generally builds all of his sets, and they just look incredible. I don't, and he really has filmmaking, like the art of filmmaking down. Like he's got it, and the audio part, like he's the whole package. And I talked to him it's a couple months ago now, and he's like 26. Man, 26 years old, and he has mastered this every part of it. Camera motion, framing, Foley work, coloring, lighting, editing, acting. It's actually a little frustrating whenever I see a new Made in France ASMR video. I go, oh man, he keeps raising that bar, keeps making it harder and harder to compete. Probably not going to do interviews. I'm probably gonna end in a minute here because I'm tired. I was talking about Made in France ASMR and also Atlas ASMR. Atlas ASMR does the best green screen work I've seen. Now, I want to say, like, not just in ASMR, right? But if I had seen some of Atlas's green screen work outside of the realm of ASMR, I probably would have been questioning whether it was a green screen or not. Because it's ASMR, I'm like, that I know it's a green screen because we're ASMR people. So how does he do that, right? Early on, I experimented with green screens quite a bit, and one thing that I found that I know he does but that does help, and most people don't do, is layer your green screen, right? Like, so don't just have a green screen behind you. You know, maybe you have one of those 12-foot ones. It comes down and then also comes in front of you. So part of it's in front of you as well. And you can create a 3-dimensional set based on your layout that way. And you can appear to be interacting with things in front of you as well as behind you. So I did a couple of videos like that, nowhere near the level that he did, but experimenting with that to try and see how much I could make it seem like you're actually in this scene and not sitting on top of the scene, which is what most of those seem like. Oh, good night, Lisa. Good night, Pavi. Moonlight Cottage too. I haven't really watched much of her stuff, but I've seen. I'm a little, even though I do it, I think I'm just not going to probably not do it anymore. I'm a little bit over the first 30 seconds of a video panning across a bunch of stuff that you got from, Home Goods or Pier 1 or whatever. And then, showing the nook that you've put all of your knickknacks in. I'm a little over that. But I think it's just because I've done it and I've seen a lot of people do it. And now it's just been done too much now. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sorry, Lexi. If we were gonna, yeah, I forgot that I had you done. If you're still up for it and you want to do this next week, then there you go. I feel like my niche is making the viewer slightly uncomfortable. Like, you try to find what it is that you do that maybe other people aren't doing so much. And I feel like it's not horror. It's more like just existential dread, but like maybe you're okay with it. Anyway, all right. So I'm gonna wrap up, I think. Paris ASMR. I've never seen Paris ASMR. I'll have to check that out. Wait, Václav, did you do one? Last time we talked, you said you weren't. I don't usually do this, though. I rarely murder the viewer. I think I've only done that a couple of times. Coffee, Cheetos, and chicken. This is what I clicked on. I disagree with you, but I do appreciate the compliment. But it depends on the video. Some videos I write scripts for, some I don't. Like the tenant one, I didn't. I knew that I wanted the first 5 lines to be said in reverse order at the end. So you have the first, I wanted to be a crab cannon, which I talked about on the stream before, which is kind of like, you say A, B, C, D, E, F lines, and then you say F, E, D, C, B, A. And they actually, because of the context is inverted, the meaning also changes. So, for instance, in the tenant video, the first words I say are, I'm like looking around and then I notice that you've woken up and I say, so you're up, right? At the end of the video, I say it again, but the meaning is different. It means that when I'm saying it then, the setup for that video is that you have a terminal illness, the viewer has a terminal illness, and you want to die at the same moment that you are born. So I am inverting you and taking you back to the moment that you're born, or a little bit before you're born, but there's still some footwork that you got to do to get to where you were, because you want your existence to be a temporal and spatial circle. So you want to be at the place you were born, at the moment that you're born. You want to pop that silver pill at that moment, so that essentially you feel like it gives you some comfort that you're born as you're dying, even though it doesn't matter. It's the kind of thing that somebody who knows that they're going to die is trying to find some way to do so comfortably, in a way that makes them feel more comfortable. And there's some hypothetical way that using inversion might allow you to do that. So the end of it, I'm saying you're up, as in like now it's your turn to go do what you need to do. Yeah, I guess you're right. Oh, good night, KJ. Thank you for coming by. Yeah, but that was years ago. Y'all are talking. Maddie, you were going to sleep like 30 minutes ago. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, a crab cannon is something that, I just explained it. You have a sequence of lines, and then you get to the middle point, and then from the middle point to the end, you invert the order of the lines, and it makes sense all the way through. And often what you're talking about as you're going down forwards, a line might be referencing the line after it, and then once you get past the midway point, the line is actually referencing the line before it, or now referencing the line after it that was the line before it. It's a little hard to explain, but just imagine if, you said sentences in reverse order. It's kind of like Memento, like sentences being scenes. You could show Memento forward and then show Memento backwards immediately afterwards. And there's some different meaning that you get when you're viewing Memento backwards than when you get it forwards. Oh, yeah, Nick, I do them. I've been doing them for 21 weeks now. This is the 21st episode. I think I missed once. So yeah, I'd love to have you. And it's usually more structured than this. This was a last minute thing. Anyway, I hope everything goes well for everybody. Especially here, right? Like I hope that, oops, I gotta fade that in. That we're getting to our destination in Europe. hoping I wake up tomorrow, everything is settled by the electorate. Lots of people have resigned from Trump's cabinet. Perhaps the 25th Amendment is on the table. I'm not counting on that. Oh, look at writing with ink. You got here right at the end. I'm not sure why you're embarrassed, but yeah. Yeah, good night, everybody, and we'll get through it. Or we won't, and that's okay too. Have to throw that in there. And I will see you all next week with a better thought out stream. Thank you all. Good night. Yeah, if you haven't seen the Tenet video, go give it a watch. Let me know what you think.